Earlier, I spoke with Speaker of the House, Louisiana Republican Mike Johnson. Mr. Speaker, nice to speak to you.
Hey, Greta. Great to speak with you.
Well, I suppose we should start with Saturday night, which was certainly a shock to all of our systems. I know that they whisked you out pretty fast, and for good reason. You come in line after the president and the vice president, and we didn't know what was going on. But can you tell the viewers, because viewers want to know what did you do? What did you see? What did you experience?
Well, when the chaos began, I was up on the elevated platform around the perimeter of that giant ballroom. I think there was more than 2,500 people there, and I was up in a big gaggle of people, taking photos with folks, and so I didn't even hear the commotion. And the next thing I know, half of my security team grabs me by the shoulders and pushes me out the nearest door, which is about 6 feet away, and everybody's screaming, "Shots fired." The other half of my team went to grab my wife. She was over on the other side of the ballroom at a table, so they took her out another door. We met in my motorcade, which is parked down in the basement of the hotel, and just waited for further developments. It was quite a chaotic scene, and the third attempt now on President Trump's life. It's a remarkable thing in history, and he is a resilient leader, and he was totally unshaken by all of it.
Yeah, no, it was quite extraordinary. And I was stunned because I looked up. There was a Secret Service member who jumped onto the dais and stood in front of the president, as big and bold as the president was seated, ready to take that bullet. And I thought, brother, these people are really trained well, because, I don't think I could be as courageous as that guy.
Yeah, I talked to the president about it last night, Greta, and we talked about the bravery and the courage of Secret Service, the Capitol Police that were there. That half the cabinet or more was in the room as well, so they all have their own individual details, and they all were trying to coordinate as best they could in that chaotic scene. So I'm sure there'll be a review of safety and precautions for large events going forward. That hotel is one of the largest venues in Washington. It's why most of the big events are held there. National Day of Prayer, National Prayer Breakfast, those kinds of things. But for an event like this that gathers so many people in one place, the upper echelon of the entire federal government, there's probably going to need to be some more, precautions taken in the future, and I expect we'll have that soon.
Well, I hate to take a terrible tragedy and sort of morph it into sort of a political discussion, but it does lay bare the issue of funding DHS. And tell me where we are on funding our security in this country.
Yes, we've been talking about this constantly for many months. 4 times now, the House Republicans have fully funded the Department of Homeland Security. And we had a bipartisan bicameral agreement on that 12th appropriation bill, the last of the 12 bills for Homeland Security for the entire department, the third largest department of the federal government, by the way, with dozens of agencies beneath it, all of which are tasked with keeping the American people safe. And shockingly, the Democrats have decided they don't want to be any part of funding large parts of that department, the agencies that enforce immigration law, the agencies that keep the border secured and safe. And so we have to do that on our own. Sadly, that's where we are. So Republicans will move a reconciliation bill to do it, and with their just one party. I pray that some Democrats will come along, but I don't believe they're going to, Greta. And we're going to have to get the entire department funded immediately. Events like Saturday night illustrate once again what a heightened threat environment we live in, and what a dangerous time. This is no time to be playing political games.
Have you heard from any of the Democratic leaders? Have they said anything to you? And what's the timeline for the reconciliation in the House?
Yeah, well, we're going to do it quickly. Of course, this week we're also hosting the King of England for his joint address to Congress. There's a lot going on, but we're going to try to move that as quickly as possible. We have to, because the deadline really is April 30th. Mark Wayne Mullen, the Secretary of DHS, has explained to all of us, he's a good friend of mine, he says, look, we literally run out of even the emergency funds the end of this week, and so there's no time to waste. We've got to get it done immediately. I have talked to some Democrats about it, Greta, and they're just reluctant to help. They don't want to be a part of it. They have full-on Trump derangement syndrome, okay? And it informs how they see the world, and how they react, and how irresponsible they are now is on full display for the whole country. I hope voters remember this in the fall. You got to keep the grown-ups in charge, and that's the Republicans.
But I would think after Saturday night, even that Saturday night might have changed a few minds in the Democratic Party on this. I mean, a lot of those Democrats were probably in the audience, and certainly a lot of people in the media who might be critical of funding this. We were all there. We're all sitting under the tables and hiding, not knowing what's next. I mean, I can't imagine that hasn't adjusted a few people's impression of this, or view of this.
Well, we certainly hope so. After traumatic events like that, it typically does have the effect of drawing people back together, and hopefully they'll apply some common sense. But they're going to get a chance to do that this week, Greta, and we'll see. We'll see who's come to their senses. I'm just going to say I'm a little jaded about all of it right now.
I know that you shouldn't tip your hands too much on security, because that's the whole point of security is surprise and make sure nobody knows. But can you tell me, is there a heightened security in light of what happened on Saturday night for the King's address to Congress on Tuesday?
Look, we've had joint addresses and other heads of state address Congress even in the last couple of years. They do this very well. I mean, the Capitol complex is the most secure place probably on planet Earth. It certainly will be when the King is here for the special visit. And we have the U.S. Capitol Police, who are exceptional at what they do, and of course the Sergeant at Arms in the House and all the rest. The King will be well protected while he's here and at the White House, and I believe he's going to have a great trip.
Do you anticipate anything particularly political? Because we have President Trump and Prime Minister Starmer a little bit at odds over Iran, and the King is here to celebrate the 250th, but nonetheless, that's the big elephant in the room is Iran between the two. So do you anticipate anything being said about Iran?
Well, we'll see. Look, I was blessed with the honor back in January of this year to be the first U.S. speaker to address the British Parliament, and the occasion was the 250th and our great celebration of our independence, and of course the special relationship we have with UK and our friends in Great Britain. And look, the King has the benefit that none of us do, that he's above politics, in their constitutional order, and so he rarely delves into those kinds of things. I don't know if it'll be a policy speech. I think it'll be more ceremonial, but we'll welcome it either way.
And the ceremonial is fun. I mean, in the sense that, look, they're pretty good sports. We left them. We 250 years ago. I think it took them about 7 years to the Treaty of Paris to sort of throw in the towel and admit it. But they've been our good friends in spite of it.
They have indeed, and I highlighted that when I was across the pond, and I'm sure the King will do the same. It is an important relationship. We need our allies, and we need them to stand with us, and vice versa. And so keeping that relationship is an important one, I think, for the security of freedom-loving people around the world. So I think that'll be on vivid display this week.
Is it your job to introduce the King on Tuesday?
Yes, we're going through all the protocols and special rules for the King. When the president does a State of the Union address, he walks down that center aisle and shakes everyone's hands. They pat him on the backs, take selfies. You can't touch the King. So I told all the members, different rules this time. Don't reach out and grab him, please. So we'll get through this without any incident, I'm sure.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. I know you're busy, so I particularly appreciate it today. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Greta. Great to see you.
People think news just happens. It doesn't. It happens because there's someone there to capture the moment, to explain it and share it. That's my job. I go where news breaks and give you the facts. Join me for The Record on Newsmax.